welcome back to a chapter day. It is Monday. Happy work week. For those of you heading out or have headed out to the work week, I pray you have a blessed week, that God guides you through the week and that you find yourself making strides. Okay, today we will be reading Judges chapter 9. More intrigues concerning the children of Israel and their enemies. This time they were fighting the Midianites. They won because Gideon was chosen by God to lead the people into battle, and they conquered and killed several kings or princes of the Midianite nation. Then Gideon decided that he would, I guess in a jest of wanting to show God his gratitude, he decided to make an ephod. Now an ephod was something I believe that the priests carried or wore. I'm not sure exactly what it was. I don't know if that's in some part of their garment that they wore, but he made it, and instead of the children of Israel using it as a remembrance of God, they used it as a symbol of worship. So they worshipped the ephod thing and decided to forget God again. Remember, this may not be the same generation of Israelites. It keeps going on and on. Okay, since from out of Israel, maybe already more than 80 or more, maybe even 100 plus years have already passed, and they're moving on. They're in their lands, but all of their enemies have not been eradicated from the land. So they're still fighting, and the last ones they had a battle with were the Midianites. Okay, now Gideon died. Didn't say how old, just a good old age. And of course the children of Israel went on worshiping idols, and they kind of forgot Gideon too, because apparently here it says at the end of chapter 8, they didn't show kindness to the house of Jerubbaal, namely Gideon. So let's see what happens in chapter 9. And Abimelech, now remember, Gideon was said to have 70 sons because he had multiple wives and concubines. So Abimelech is the son of one of his concubines. Abimelech, the son of Jerubbaal, who is Gideon, went to Shechem unto his mother's brethren, and communed with them and with all the family of the house of his mother's father, saying, Speak, I pray you, in the ears of all the men of Shechem, whether is better for you, either that all the sons of Jerubbaal, which are 70 persons, reign over you, or that one reign over you. Remember also that I am your bone and your flesh. And his mother's brethren spake of him in the ears of all the men of Shechem all these words, and their hearts inclined to follow Abimelech, for they said, he is our brother. Now I think he was the only, what we would call, outside child. The one who was born not to a wife but to a concubine, because I think that's how it was listed in chapter 8. He was the only one not born to a wife, per se. Okay. Verse 4, and they gave him 70 pieces of silver out of the house of Baal-berith, wherewith Abimelech hired vain and light persons which followed him. And he went out unto his father's house at Ophrah, and slew all his brethren, the sons of Jerubbaal, being 70 persons, upon one stone. Notwithstanding yet Jotham, the youngest son of Jerubbaal, was left, for he hid himself. Wow. You know what? Some of these stories never cease to amaze me. That in the midst of a people who are supposed to know and fear God, you have so many sons of Belial, aka Satan, that dwell amongst them. And that is because the men of Israel decided to go a-whoring after women who were not of their belief. And we do that today too. Not just the men, the women, we do that too. And we pick up unto ourselves legion. I don't know what else to call this. You a one person born to a woman outside of your father's wifery, not to mention Gideon did the wrong thing as many of the leaders of Israel by having more than one wife. And this one happened to be the one who was full of evil and killed 70 brothers. How did he do that? I guess he had the people who were following him, as they said, Gideon had light people, meaning they weren't very smart. Sometimes we gotta be careful of who we surround ourselves with, calling them our advisors and our friends. Sometimes they don't even have as much inkling as we do. But we have them around giving us advice, and that is what, wow. Anyway, the deed was done, except for one by the name of Jotham, and he was the youngest son of Jerubbaal, and he escaped. Let's see what else happens. And this is all for a matter of power, because after Gideon died, I guess they felt entitled to carry on the leading of the people by choosing a son. There were 70 of them, so this one decided he's going to take the move. His name was Abimelech, and he would go in there and kind of let them know, hey, I'm one of your brothers too, so let's see if maybe we should choose among ourselves one. But I guess he did the choosing for them. Verse 6. And all the men of Shechem gathered together, and all the house of Millo, and went and made Abimelech king by the plain of the pillar that was in Shechem. And when they told it to Jotham, he went and stood in the top of Mount Gerizim, and lifted up his voice and cried, and said unto them, Hearken unto me, ye men of Shechem, that God may hearken unto you. This is a very long chapter, okay? Verse 8, the trees went forth on a time to anoint a king over them. And they said unto the olive tree, Reign thou over us. But the olive tree said unto them, Should I leave my fatness wherewith by me they honor God and man, and go to be promoted over the trees? And the tree said to the fig tree, Come thou and reign over us. But the fig tree said unto them, Should I forsake my sweetness and my good fruit, and go to be promoted over the trees? Then said the trees unto the vine, Come thou and reign over us. And the vine said unto them, Should I leave my wine, which cheereth God and man, and go to be promoted over the trees? Then said all the trees unto the bramble, Come thou and reign over us. And the bramble said unto the trees, If in truth ye anoint me king over you, then come and put your trust in my shadow. And if not, let fire come out of the bramble and devour the cedars of Lebanon. Now here you talking in symbols. So Jotham is addressing the men of Shechem because they made Abimelech king after he killed all the other brothers, and he's giving them some sort of should I say a parable, or some sort of anecdote, some story, some reference, some symbolic thing about trees and different types of fruits. Let's see how they take that. Verse 16. Now therefore, if you have done truly and sincerely in that you have made Abimelech king, and if you have dealt well with Jerubbaal and his house, and have done unto him according to the deserving of his hands, for my father fought for you, and adventured his life far, and delivered you out of the hand of Midian, and you are risen up against my father's house this day, and have slain his sons, 70 persons upon one stone, and have made Abimelech the son of his maidservant king over the men of Shechem, because he is your brother? If you then have dealt truly and sincerely with Jerubbaal and with his house this day, then rejoice ye in Abimelech, and let him also rejoice in you. But if not, let fire come out from Abimelech, and devour the men of Shechem and the house of Millo, and let fire come out from the men of Shechem and from the house of Millo, and devour Abimelech. Oh wow. So he's calling out. I believe maybe he is asking for God to maybe also intervene, or he has asked God's intervention, or believe he has God's backing when he addresses these men, because now he is saying, if you think you did right in what you did by killing all those brothers and putting Abimelech, the son of a maidservant, in charge as king, then I hope fire comes out from Abimelech and devour you. Okay, if you did right, then you're good. But if you know you're guilty, that was the wrong thing, then I hope your fire comes from you and devour Abimelech, and same fire comes from Abimelech and devour you. So in either which case, they're going to be destroying each other. Let's see what happens. Verse 21. And Jotham ran away and fled and went to Beer and dwelt there for fear of Abimelech his brother. So after he made this big proclamation, of course, he got out of there as quick as he could, because remember, he's just one against all those. Verse 22, when Abimelech had reigned 3 years over Israel, then God sent an evil spirit between Abimelech and the men of Shechem. And the men of Shechem dealt treacherously with Abimelech, that the cruelty done to the 70 sons of Jerubbaal might come, and their blood be upon Abimelech their brother, which slew them, and upon the men of Shechem, which aided him in the killing of his brethren. And the men of Shechem set liars in wait for him in the top of the mountains, and they robbed all that came along that way by them. And it was told Abimelech. So apparently what's happening here, after 3 years, God allowed dissension to come between the two sets of people, Abimelech and the men of Shechem. So this is going to be a repayment for the evil that Abimelech had caused for his other brothers. 69 or how many? I don't know. I guess it was 70 on him, or he was part of the 70. I'm not sure. So verse 25 again. And the men of Shechem set liars in wait for him in the top of the mountains, and they robbed all that came along that way by them. And it was told Abimelech. And Gal, the son of Ebed, came with his brethren and went over to Shechem. And the men of Shechem put their confidence in him. And they went out into the fields and gathered their vineyards and trode the grapes and made merry, and went into the house of their God and did eat and drink and cursed Abimelech. Okay, so now they're causing enmity against Abimelech with some other brethren. Okay, I would say always remember, what goes around comes around. That's an old saying ever since I was a child, and I have not lived to see it unpronounced. Whatever you do to others is going to return to you. It might take some time, it could happen quickly, but it will happen for sure. Okay, verse 28. And Gal, the son of Ebed, said, Who is Abimelech, and who is Shechem, that we should serve him? Is not he the son of Jerubbaal, and Zebul his officer? Serve the men of Hamor, the father of Shechem. For why should we serve him? And why would to God this people were under my hand? Then would I remove Abimelech. And he said to Abimelech, Increase thine army and come out. So now this Gal person, whoever he is, he now is calling out Abimelech, because he's saying, why should Abimelech be ruling over y'all, and Shechem also? His father should be the one in charge, who was Hamor. So he now is calling out, like we say, he's calling out Abimelech. Okay, verse 29. Okay, verse 30. And when Zebul, the ruler of the city, heard the words of Gal, the son of Ebed, his anger was kindled. And he sent messengers unto Abimelech privily, saying, Behold, Gal, the son of Ebed, and his brethren be come to Shechem. And behold, they fortify the city against thee. Now therefore up by night, thou and the people that is with thee, and lie in wait in the field. And it shall be that in the morning, as soon as the sun is up, thou shalt rise early and set upon the city. And behold, when he and the people that is with him come out against thee, then mayest thou do to them as thou should find occasion. So you always have a trait in the bunch. I would say this, when you're doing something, try not to get a crowd with you. You might as well do it yourself, you know, unless you could. These are really trustworthy people that you know. Other than that, keep it to yourself. Anywho, moving along. Verse 34. And Abimelech rose up, and all the people that were with him that by night, and they laid wait against Shechem in 4 companies. And Gaal the son of Ebed went out, and stood in the entering of the gate of the city. And Abimelech rose up, and the people that were with him from lying in wait. And when Gaal saw the people, he said to Zebul, Behold, there come people down from the top of the mountains. And Zebul said unto him, Thou seest the shadow of the mountains, as if they were men. Now here's what. A lot of deception going on here. Because Zebul is the one who went and told Abimelech that, hey, Gaal and these other men coming after you. So put yourself in position to defend. Okay? And now that he goes back now to Gaal, who's coming after Abimelech. And Gaal say, hey, I see men coming down the mountains. And now Zebul is saying, oh, you're just seeing shadows of the mountains. All right, moving right along. Verse 37. And Gaal spake again and said, there come people down by the middle of the land, and another company come along by the plain of Meoninnim. Then said Zebul unto him, Where is now thy mouth? Wherewith thou sayest, Who is Abimelech, that we should serve him? Is not this the people that thou hast despised? Go out, I pray now, and fight with them. And Gaal went out before the men of Shechem, and fought with Abimelech. And Abimelech chased him, and he fled before him, and many were overthrown and wounded, even unto the entering of the gate. And Abimelech dwelt at Arumah, and Zebul thrust out Gaal and his brethren, that they should not dwell in Shechem. And it came to pass on the morrow that the people went out into the field, and they told Abimelech. And he took the people and divided them into 3 companies, and laid wait in the field, and looked, and behold, the people were come forth out of the city. And he rose up against them, and smote them. And Abimelech and the company that was with him rushed forward, and stood in the entering of the gate of the city. And the 2 other companies ran upon all the people that were in the fields, and slew them. So, the same Zebul who went and betrayed Gaal to Abimelech goes back to Gaal as if he's with them, and tries to set Gaal up to be ambushed by Abimelech. So when Gaal really figures out it's not shadows he's seeing coming down from the mountains, it is people, then Zebul tells him, go on, you were talking against Abimelech, go fight him now. So now he goes out to fight Abimelech, and Abimelech maybe stronger than them, and has them running, and he's chased after them, killed some of them, and oh my goodness, what's happening now? So now the other people, Abimelech has set up some companies and put them in the fields, okay? And let's see what is going to happen to the rest of the people. Verse 45. And Abimelech fought against the city all that day, and he took the city and slew the people that was therein, and beat down the city and sowed it with salt. Interesting. And when all the men of the tower of Shechem heard that they entered into an hold of the house of the god Berith, and it was told Abimelech that all the men of the tower of Shechem were gathered together. So now he's coming upon the men of Shechem. Before this was just Gaal who was talking, he maybe in his little group, who they kind of put down. So now he's coming up against the men of Shechem, because the men of Shechem still doesn't want Abimelech to be ruler. So let's go on, verse 47. And it was told Abimelech that all the men of the tower of Shechem were gathered together. And Abimelech gat him up to Mount Zalmon, he and all the people that were with him. And Abimelech took an axe in his hand, and cut down a bough from the trees, and he took it and laid it on his shoulder, and said unto the people that were with him, What you have seen me do, make haste and do as I have done. And all the people likewise cut down every man his bough, and followed Abimelech, and put them to the hold, and set the hold on fire. Interesting. And set the hold on fire upon them. So I'm trying to picture this. so that all the men of the tower of Shechem died also, about 1,000 men and women. So he cut down a tree, put fire in it. Doesn't that sound like a cannon? We used to make these things long ago, around Easter time, and they were made from bamboo. And we would cut a hole in it, and we would put some sort of carbide. I think it's called carbide. And we put fire down into the hole, and it would blow, you know, like if it were a real cannon. And we'd put cans, like cans from the tin cans. We'd put the covers on the tin cans in front of the hole of this piece of bamboo. And when we put the fire into the hole, the carbide would, you know, burst and shoot the can lid from in front. It was just something that we did for fun. It was like a custom. But it sounds to me like this is what they're doing here, because it said, and they put them to the hole and set the hole on fire upon them, so that all the men of the tower of Shechem died also. I don't know. To me, that's what it sounds like they made little, you know, homemade cannons. Verse 50. Then went Abimelech to Thebez and encamped against Thebez and took it. But there was a strong tower within the city, and thither fled all the men and women and all they of the city, and shut it to them, and gat them up to the top of the tower. And Abimelech came unto the tower and fought against it, and went hard unto the door of the tower to burn it with fire. And a certain woman, here we go again, hey, we got some skills, okay? And it starts up here. A certain woman cast a piece of a millstone upon Abimelech's head, and all to break his skull. Then he called hastily unto the young man, his armor-bearer, and said unto him, Draw thy sword and slay me, that men say not of me, a woman slew him. And his young man thrust him through, and he died. I am so sorry. Man, you know, it's so amazing. It's better that, you know, it's heard that he was slain by a man than killed by a woman. Dropped the stone on his head, cracked his skull. Okay, verse 55. And when the men of Israel saw that Abimelech was dead, they departed every man unto his place. Thus God rendered the wickedness of Abimelech, which he did unto his father in slaying his 70 brethren, and all the evil of the men of Shechem did God render upon their heads, and upon them came the curse of Jotham, the son of Jerubbaal. Whoa! Talk about drama. People, get your Bible out and read. Oh my goodness. You see how much stuff just happened just in this one chapter? Wow. By the way, that was the end of chapter 9. So in the end, just what Jotham, the son of Jerubbaal, had said. The people of Shechem will kill Abimelech, and he in turn will kill each other. And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. All for the wickedness that he did to his father's household. Oh my gosh. I tell you. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, I will repay. Those are God's words. And it does come to pass. So sometimes I know we feel like our justice is not swift enough. And I know I've been through that. My justice doesn't come swift enough sometimes, Lord. I want to see these people explode in front of my face. You know? But the Bible says, render not evil for evil. Because God, in his time, will bring it to pass. So, that is the end of our reading of chapter 9 of Judges. Very interesting, very interesting. And again, when you move away from God, you know who moves in? One and only, Satan. And he will create havoc anywhere you are. In your home, in your church, in your school, in your workplace, in your business place, wherever you are, he will create havoc. You cannot put God aside and don't think somebody else is going to replace it. And it's only good and evil. God and Satan. It's a war. The great controversy, or controversy as some say, is happening in the world. And unless we open our spiritual eyes, we cannot see it. But spiritual things are spiritually discerned. Keep listening. Thank you all for those who have already joined in. Take your Bible out and double check whatever you've heard. Ask questions if you have any. Make comments, feel free. Thank you so much for joining. And until our next reading, remember, faith comes by the hearing of God's word. Take care.